أما بعد, to proceed. Today we'll talk about talaq, and we are going over Kitab Umdat al-Fiqh by Imam ibn Qudamah al-Maqdisi, who died in the year 620 after Hijrah. We have already finished Fiqh al-Ibadat, Fiqh al-Muamalat, that is the Fiqh of worship, and Fiqh of transactions, financial transactions. We finished the Fiqh of inheritance after that, and then we started the Fiqh of family. And after the Fiqh of family, we'll go over the Fiqh of, hunting and foods and drinks and oaths and vows. So adat, customs, and then we'll go over the Fiqh of qada and hudud and jinayat and jihad, and that will be the last section of fiqh, and it is shorter than the previous ones, much shorter than the previous ones. So hopefully, inshallah, within this year, if we have no more interruptions, we should try to finish, inshallah. So Imam Qudamah rahimahullah says here, وَلَا يَحِلُّ جَمْعُ الثَّلَاثِ, it is not permissible to combine the three divorces. We're done with this. We've covered this last time. The three composite divorce, the threefold composite divorce, we're done with this. It is not permissible, according to the majority, to combine the three divorces at once. Is that clear? Not permissible, according to the majority, to combine the three divorces at once. However, the majority would still count them as three divorces. And we talked about Ibn Taymiyyah's position that they count as one divorce. That is basically the mainstream position nowadays in most countries and most laws. But during his time, it was an eccentric position, aberrant, anomalous, eccentric, whatever you call Shad's position. But we are saying that this is the right position to adopt in the interest of the Muslim family, because counting the threefold composite divorce as three divorces means the end of this family, and if we have a way to not do this, then we should. But we will not repeat our discussion because we talked about it in detail last time, and that's why I told you it would be helpful to go over the last two sessions in fiqh and tazkiyah before this session. We'll just carry on and talk about the other types of impermissible divorces. He is talking here in this section about impermissible divorces. What are impermissible divorces? That is to divorce a woman during her period, or to give a woman a threefold composite divorce at once. These are called impermissible divorces. Could a divorce that is unwarranted be also impermissible? That is what I believe. That is not the position of the majority. That seems to be the position of the Hanafis in one of two positions within the Hanafi madhab, and people can fight all the time over which one would be authorized. But I believe that this is the stronger position within the Hanafi madhab, that the default for divorce is impermissibility as long as it is unwarranted. And that is a position within the Hanbali madhab that I support. What does it mean? Does it mean anything if I support it? It just means something to me, but I support it. So divorce is impermissible also if it is unwarranted. But the authorized position in the Hanbali madhab is that divorce is impermissible, not if it is unwarranted, but if you are divorcing a woman during her period, or you're divorcing three at once, 3 times at once, or 3 divorces at once. Then the Sheikh says, وَلَا طَلَاقَ الْمَدْخُولِ بِهَا فِي حَيْضِهَا أَوْ طُهْرٍ أَصَابَهَا فِيه لما روى ابن عمر أنه طلق امرأة له وهي حائض فذكر ذلك عمر لرسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فتغيظ عليه رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ثم قال مره فليراجعها ثم يمسكها حتى تطهر ثم تحيض ثم تطهر فإن بدا له أن يطلقها فليطلقها قبل أن يمسها. It is also impermissible to divorce the wife after consummation of the marriage, during her menstrual period, or during a time of purity in which he had intercourse with her. This is because Ibn Umar narrated that he divorced his wife while she was on her period. And when Umar mentioned that to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, order him to take her back and then keep her as a wife until she becomes pure. Then she menstruates and then she becomes pure. Afterwards, if he still wants to divorce her, let him do that before touching her, before having intercourse with her. So the divorce during the period. He says in the beginning, it is also impermissible to divorce the wife after the consummation of the marriage. This is an ihtiraz, this is an important contingency here, because divorce during the iddah is permissible sometimes. Divorce during the iddah is permissible if the marriage has not been consummated. So divorce during the iddah, divorce during the haid. Divorce during the haid is not permissible when? If the marriage has been consummated. Why? Because if the marriage has not been consummated, is there iddah? No. There is no iddah. So if there is no iddah, then people could divorce anytime, during the haid, not during the haid, it doesn't matter. Because most likely the reason behind the prohibition of divorce during the haid is what? No. Because you will prolong the iddah for the woman. إذا طلقتم النساء فطلقوهن لعدتهن. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Talaq, if you divorce women, فطلقوهن لعدتهن. Meaning what? Divorce them to their iddah. What does that mean? To their iddah, to their waiting period. It means to the commencement of their waiting period, so that they may commence immediately their waiting period without delay. Now, if the iddah comes here, this is a iddah. Okay. Well, the iddah is 7 days, let us say, and then 21, let's say 7, huh? Haid. The haid is 7 days. And this would be 21 to 23 or something, and then 7, and then 23, let us say, and then 7, like this. Okay, now if you divorce here, how does she calculate her iddah?
She has to wait until the purity.
Okay, she will not count this period. We are saying that, we're going Hanafi and Hanbali here. So the qur means the haid, the period. So we are going to wait 3 periods, right? We're going to wait 3 periods. If you divorce her here, she will not count this period. Then this will be her first period. This will be her second period. She would have to wait until the end of the 3rd period. When can she get married? Here. She can get married here. Okay? And they used to get married rather quickly after divorce. So, so if you divorce her here, or if you divorce her here, and you had not touched her, like you had no intercourse here, this is like a period of purity in which you have not had marital relations. If you divorce her here, this is her first period, second, third. So how many days have you saved her? Like many days. Because she will, so that is what it means. فَطَلِّقُهُنَّ لِعِدَّتِهِنَّ, to the commencement of their period. If you divorce her here, she can commence her period right away. If you divorce her here, she will have to drop this and wait until she commences her period here.
What is this period considered? Iddah or not iddah?
If he divorces her here,
If he divorces her in the height,
if he divorces her in the height,
does that count as part of the iddah or no? If he does the wrong thing.
okay, he divorced her during the height. What counts as part of the iddah? This period?
Yeah, the first one.
No, she will start from here.
So she's still considered his wife? She would still be considered his wife?
No, she is somewhat his wife. If she's raja'iyya, she is still his wife, in a sense, but she's divorced. She has been divorced. She's still in her period. She had started her period, but we're not talking about, like, here, what is her ruling? She is in her period. She is in her waiting period. But she is not counting in order for her to count the 3 periods after which she will be, basically free of the marriage bond, free to marry, to remarry. She will not be counting this. She will start from here as her first period, because Allah says, ثلاثة قروء, 3 periods. So she would need to wait 3 periods. This is her first period, because she will not count this one in which he divorced her. So it would end here. Okay, but let us say he divorced her here, right before the period started. He divorced her here. Versus here. There is only 2-day difference here between here and here, right before the period started. She will count to this. When does her waiting period end? Ends here, not there. Maybe this is a better example. Someone divorced his wife here, and someone divorced his wife here. The height, the menstruation started here. The one who divorced his wife here, given that he had not had marital relations during this period of purity, the one who divorced his wife here, his wife will be able to start the countdown. Not to start her period in the sense that the other one is not in the period, the waiting period, but to start the countdown of her period from here. The one who divorced his wife here, the wife will start the countdown to the end of her period from here, not from here, from here. From the beginning of the following menstrual period.
Why is that?
Hmm?
Why is that? Because if she started her period, it's all of it is talaq the way.
Yes, it is all bad.
Yeah. So if she has her period, he divorces her, then one that the cleansing or the purity period becomes her first cycle count. Because
Like why you can't start
Because
period could be the purity.
No, that is the Shafi'i way. We're not going by that. So we're going by the Hanbali and Hanafi. Period means qur means haid, and haid means, menstrual period. And if it is menstrual period, then she will need to spend 3 full menstrual periods awaiting, the end of her period. And this period, since he divorced her in the middle of the period, will not count because it's not a full menstrual period. We need 3 full menstrual periods. So this, and this, not this one. So now it is impermissible, okay?
Does it mean, is it impermissible? Does it mean it still counts? Or impermissible?
Well, that's what we'll come to it. We're coming to it. We're going to discuss this. So ولا طلاق المدخول بها في حيضها أو طهر أصابها فيه. Okay, so then we are all clear that this is impermissible, right? Now, will it count or not? That's another big discussion.
So Dr. Hassan,
You see how, yes.
impermissible, what does impermissible mean? Means that it shouldn't happen? Or if it happens, what does it mean in the ruling?
Well, that's what we're talking about now.
Just one question for the
Yes, that's what we're coming to. Yes.
It says during a time of purity in which he had intercourse with her, also impermissible. So if
Yes.
so if he divorces during purity,
He has to divorce her during a time of purity in which he had no marital relations with her. That means intercourse, to be clear, and because, so that we don't cause confusion. So it's not kissing, hugging, and stuff like this. It is basically intercourse.
that's the impermissible. That's the impermissible.
Yes,
Divorce during that time would be impermissible.
yes. If they had basically marital relations during that purity, then he cannot divorce her during that purity, during that tohr. So now it is clear that in order for divorce, and all of this is basically to put brakes down on people so that they don't, make haste to divorce and then they think about it and so on. So it is not like you can divorce whenever you want. You'll have to figure out if it is halal to divorce now or not. And most of the time, people are, to find the period of purity in which you have not touched your wife, that's not the usual scenario, right? For most of the people, they need to think, is it halal for me to divorce now or not? And if it is not halal, then people must refrain or desist. And then if it is halal, then they can proceed. But in order for someone to divorce his wife in a halal way, then he will have to divorce. This is the haid, this is the haid, this is the tohr or purity and this menstruation. So he will have to divorce her during this period with one more condition. He should not have touched her since the last period ended. If he touched her here, he cannot divorce her in this period. He will have to wait until she has menstruation and then divorce her in this period after she becomes pure. Clear? Clear. Now let us say he did it. Yes.
I was going to get a clarifying question about the same. Hadith seems like it adds an extra.
This is to punish him because he divorced her during her period. So the hadith says مره فليراجعها حتى تحيض ثم حتى تطهر ثم تحيض ثم تطهر. So the hadith says مره فليراجعها, command him to take her back. Now he divorced her here. Hadith said command him to take her back until she becomes pure. Then she menstruates. Then she becomes pure and then he can divorce her here. So the hadith for people who, made haste and divorced their wives during her period, the hadith commands them to not only divorce her after she becomes pure, even though in this period of purity he had not touched her. But this is an exception. This is the period of purity in which he had not touched her, but it is still haram to divorce her. Because he had made haste and divorced her during the period, the hadith commands him to keep her for this full period of purity until she menstruates one more time, and then in the second period of purity, he may divorce her. But in general, for people who had not divorced their wives during the period, how can they do it? They need to do it during a period of purity in which there was no intercourse between them. During a period of purity during which there was no intercourse between them. Okay, so let us say he did it. He did it. Does it count as a divorce or does not count as a divorce? Okay, now who said it counts as a divorce? Pretty much everybody. Not everybody. Pretty much, like almost. So the four mazahib and the majority of the scholars have considered this divorce a valid divorce, impermissible, but it counts.
Permissible meaning is sinful.
Sinful. He earns a sin, but it counts. It is sinful, but it counts. Then who said not? Ibn Taymiyyah. But was he the only one? No, he was not. There were but he goes to great lengths in defending his position, so that's why the position becomes ascribed to him. Don't ever think that the only one who said music is halal is Ibn Hazm, because everybody thinks, everybody who says music is halal, that's the position of Ibn Hazm. Don't blame it on one man. Usually that doesn't happen. Usually that is the person who sort of defended the position at length, so people attributed the position, ascribed the position to him. But at any rate, this is a different discussion. But it was like sprinkles of Malikis and Hanbalis, including Ibn Aqil, before Ibn Taymiyyah, among the Hanbalis also, who said that it would not count. Now, for Ibn Taymiyyah, he had basically like a good agenda against divorce. Not a bad agenda, but he had a good agenda against divorce. The problem with divorce in his time is that it was rampant, and many people were like the three composite divorce was happening so often, divorce at any time, and people were like having the muhallil all the time. The problem of the muhallil, who comes in and marries their wife for one night and then she goes back to them. And whatever is happening during that, whether it is defiance to the Sharia or defiance to sort of virtue, because if they consummated the marriage and then he returned her the next day, that is shocking to Muslim sense. And if they did not consummate the marriage, this is defiance to the Sharia, because they should consummate the marriage. This should not be sort of like a pretend marriage. It should be a real marriage to make her halal for the previous one. Now, this was a major problem. You will find a lot of even, it stayed way beyond Ibn Taymiyyah. You find people like Orientalists, people who came and lived in Egypt in the 18th and 19th century and so on. They were reporting this as like one of the wonders of the Muslim world, like not the bad wonders. And then they were saying that you think that these people have like ghaira and protectiveness over the women. Look at this practice. Does this show any sort of nobility or protectiveness? And I have read many of such accounts by travelers and Orientalists and so on and so forth. So there was a problem. There was a problem, and so he had this good agenda against divorce, so he was always, to some extent, biased to invalidate the utterances of divorces, because he was working under this pressure, made him somewhat biased to invalidate any divorce. Sometimes this bias was a good bias, and it ended up with like the 3 composite divorce counting as one divorce. That seems to be the stronger position. If we go back to last session, we talked about Hadith Ibn Abbas and how it used to count as one, how at least Ibn Abbas said it used to count as one during the time of the Prophet and Abu Bakr and the beginning of the Khilafah of Umar. Now, however you wanted to interpret this Hadith of Ibn Abbas, but you cannot deny that a Hadith reported by a Muslim from Ibn Abbas, who is saying that it used to count as one during the time of the Prophet and Abu Bakr, is a pretty strong evidence. You cannot deny that the intent of the legislator is that 3 marriages, 3 divorces are not happening all at once to destroy the marriage, but basically it is 3 opportunities. You got your 3rd opportunity, it didn't work out, you're not meant for each other. That should be the intent of the legislator. You cannot also deny that the Quranic statement about this, فَإِن طَلَّقَهَا فَلَا تَحِلُّ لَهُ مِن بَعْدِ حَتَّى تَنكِحَ زَوْجَهَا. It is one divorce after divorce. الطلاق مرتان فإمساك بمعروف أو تسريح بإحسان. We're talking about divorce, marriage, divorce, marriage, divorce, marriage. We're not talking about composite divorces. The Quran does not say this. So in the previous session, when I presented the position of Imam Taymiyyah rahimahullah, I supported it. I can't do this here because it doesn't seem to be the stronger position. And I'm saying that he was somewhat, like he had like his good agenda against divorce, that's fine, but it made him want to invalidate every divorce under the sun that he can invalidate. Keep in mind that he is an Imam Mujtahid, so he's not basically going to do crazy things. So this is a position that is still defensible, and it is still defensible to the point that he was not the only one. There are Malikis who said that. Ibn Aqil of the Hanbalis before him said that. There are many after him. Shawkani said that, a great scholar as well. Sadiq Hassan Khan said that. Ibn Baz, there are many who adopted this position. So this is not a crazy position. And I'm saying that he was inclined to look for reasons to invalidate divorces, to remedy the problem of tahleel that was pretty sort of offenses to Muslim common sense. So now he said that this does not count. This divorce does not count. Why doesn't it count? Okay, he said that some of the reports, this report from Umar radiallahu anhu about his son Abdullah ibn Umar, where the Prophet ﷺ became angry with him that he divorced his wife during her period and said, command him to take her back and then keep her until she becomes pure, and then she menstruates, and then she becomes pure. And some of the reports of this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ was said to have not seen it وَلَمْ يَرَهَا شَيْئًا, or وَلَمْ يَعُدَّهَا شَيْئًا. لم يرها شيئا, it means he did not see it as anything. As anything what? He did not see his divorce as anything. So Ibn Taymiyyah said that when we say that he did not see it as anything, in the usul, this has to be understood to mean as anything valid until proven otherwise. When we say la salata لمن لا وضوء له, for instance, there is no salah for someone who does not have wudu. Does that mean there is no salah period, or there is no complete salah? No complete salah. Wrong. No salah period. There is no salah for someone who doesn't have wudu. But when the Prophet says, لا وضوء لمن لم يذكر اسم الله عليه, there is no wudu for someone who did not mention the name of Allah on it. It means there is no complete wudu, or there is no sinless wudu. You know, it depends on whether you consider the basmala in the beginning of the wudu wajib or mustahab. But at any rate, it is not a condition of validity. So if you miss it, it is not a condition of validity. In this sense, why are we saying la salah, you know, without tuhur or wudu? There is that no valid salah, and we're saying no complete wudu, because in general, it should be all no valid salah, no valid wudu, no valid. It should all go to be no valid, unless we have a qarina, unless we have some soft evidence, corroborative evidence, that it does not mean no valid, but it just means no complete. So when the Prophet ﷺ, there are too many examples, but it is clear anyway. Sometimes we say this is not complete iman, there is no iman, there is no complete iman, this or that, but we have to have a qarina. So when the Prophet negates something, it means that it is all negated. It means it's invalid, unless we have a qarina. So Ibn Taymiyyah says, well, there is no qarina. لم يرها شيئا, it means that he did not see it as something valid. ولم يعدها شيئا, he did not count it as anything valid. لم يحتسبها, but then the other scholars said that some of the reports said, you know, واعتد بها, and he counted it. Other reports said وحسبت عليه, it was counted against him. It was counted against him. So to reconcile between these reports and these reports, we have to say that these reports did not mean he did not see it something valid or count it as something valid. He did not see it something good. Good, not valid. But it is still valid, because that's the way we can reconcile between these reports and these reports. And then they would say to him, why would it not be valid? Why would it be invalid? Is being in a time of purity in which the husband did not touch her inherent to the concept of divorce, or extraneous to it? It's extraneous. Divorce basically is the termination of marriage by the willful husband who does have that right to terminate the marriage. Being in a period of purity or not in a period of purity is extraneous to the nature of this action or the nature of divorce. Therefore, if it happens, he's sinful, but it should count because that is extraneous. They call this infisal al-jiha. It means infisal al-jiha. Infisal al-jiha. No, it means that the thing that is prohibited is not inherently part of the action. They're separate. They are separate. Like a salah fil ard al-maghsuba, praying in a land that is wrongfully seized. To pray in a land or in a house that's wrongfully seized. The Hanbalis say the very action of the prayer cannot be separated from the fact that the land is wrongfully seized, because during the prayer he's occupying a space that is wrongfully seized. So we cannot separate the two. The three other Imams say no, they are separated. There is no relationship. The salah is valid and he's sinful because he's praying in a land that's wrongfully seized. And in fact, the three other imams may have a stronger position here. But it is somewhat subjective to look at whether you could separate the two from each other or not. So if it is extraneous to the act itself, if that contingency is extraneous to the act itself, the act could be valid despite the violation that pertains to the contingency. So here they said to Imam Taymiyyah rahimahullah, why would it not count? This is extraneous to the act of divorce. The divorce should count. It's just that he's doing it at the wrong time. So he is sinful doing it at the wrong time, but it should count. So he said to them, but what about النهي يقتضي الفساد? Which is the same thing, you know. That's how they answered him. Prohibition implies invalidity. Prohibition implies invalidity. They said to him, this is if the prohibition pertains to the essence of the act, not to extraneous conditions. And here, the Prophet did not prohibit him from divorcing the essence of the act. He prohibited him from divorcing during that time. So extraneous to the act. And then they also said, Imam Taymiyyah rahimahullah said that Bukhari and Muslim reported from Aisha radiallahu anha that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Man ahdatha fi amrina hadha ma laysa minhu fahuwa radd." Whoever innovates in our affair that which is not of it, or that which is not in accordance with it, it shall be rejected. So this person innovated in our affair something that is not of it, should be rejected. They said to him, this is a punishment for him when he does that his act will be rejected. But here, you're not punishing him, you're taking him off the hook by, yeah.
Punishing her. Yeah, she's
Uh,
punished because of his, you know.
No, it is, you know, if you consider the divorce to be punishment, maybe it is, but no one is being punished here. It's just that من أحدث في أمرنا هذا ما ليس منه فهو رد. He will not have the reward for his act that is innovated. If you innovate in worship, you're not going to be rewarded because Allah will not reward you for innovation. Allah wants you to worship Him as He pleases. You were told what is pleasing to Him through the Prophet ﷺ. So do everything according to the Sunnah. That's what the hadith means. But it does not mean that someone who divorces in an improper way, his divorce will not count to give him another chance. The majority of the scholars said it should count against him. At the end of the day, you know how sympathetic I am to the positions of Imam Taymiyyah, and I find this, it may be a sort of congruity of psychological makeups or something, but it is not like really a matter of partisanship or zealotry or anything, but this position I was not able to agree with him on it. Fiqh-wise, the position of the majority is clearly stronger, but to me at least. But having said that, is it okay for someone to give a fatwa to use this position? Like, let's say someone divorced his wife 3 times, they have 4 kids, and they are really in bad shape, and they don't know what to do. They come and ask you, did this last divorce count? And the last divorce happened during the period. Well, what do you say if you are like me, you believe that the position of the majority is stronger? You could defer to other mufti. You could defer to other mufti that can give them a fatwa based on the position of Imam Taymiyyah rahimahullah. And many of the scholars who don't even agree with his position on the 3 composite divorce, they do this. Many of the scholars in different parts of the world who still do not agree with his position on the threefold composite divorce in particular, they defer to other muftis that would issue like a more lenient fatwa if it is about the sort of the interest of the family and keeping the family from destruction. Okay, and that is known, you know, and that is like a common practice, not undebatable, but it is a very common practice among the muftis in throughout the world. Then the Sheikh said, was sunnatu fi talaq. We're clear with this, we're done with this part. It is haram, whether it is valid or not, it's a matter of disagreement. But the majority said it is valid. The Sheikh then said, وَالسُنَّةُ فِي الطَّلَاقِ أَنْ يُطَلِّقَهَا فِي طُهْرٍ لَمْ يُصِبْهَا فِيهِ وَاحِدَةً ثُمَّ يَدَعَهَا حَتَّى تَنْقَضِيَ عِدَّتُهَا. The sunnah in divorce is to divorce the wife once during a state of purity, during which he had no intercourse with her, then to leave her until her iddah is over. To leave her until her iddah is over. This means what? The sunnah in divorce is that, you know, here, she ended here, you divorce here if you must, you know, anyway. You divorce here, and then she starts to count from here. This period here, there was no touching. So that's the sunnah. Then, when does her period ends? Here. Okay? If you want to divorce her again, you'll have to take her back here and then divorce her back here. But I'm just saying that if you must, like, because keep in mind, you take her back here with her permission.
With her permission?
That's.
Did you say one time that you can take her back here?
But here with her permission, you can take her back here without her permission. But here it's outside her iddah.
It has to be a new contract.
A new contract, yes, everything new. So, okay. No, this is not the third. We just, okay. He is saying that the proper divorce is when you divorce her here and don't divorce her again until she ends her iddah. One divorce, that's it. And leave her alone until she ends her iddah. You don't have to take her back and divorce her or anything. I'm just, I'm saying that if you're so inclined, then that's what you can do. But anyway, like if someone, you know, the people sometimes divorce their wives 3 times to keep themselves from taking her back. Like someone who really was hurt by his wife. Let's say he does not want to get weak and take her back. So he divorced her 3 times so that he can keep himself from hurting himself again. That is incorrect. That is haram. To divorce her 3 times, 3 at once. 3 at once is haram. But also it is discouraged to divorce her and then divorce her again during her waiting period. Will it count? Yes, according to the majority. Who said it doesn't count? Ibn Taymiyyah. He said there is no divorce without raj'ah. How do you divorce a divorced woman? So if you divorced her here, you can't give her another divorce here. She's divorced. She's not mahal lit-talaq anymore. She's not subject to your divorces anymore. You have divorced her. In order for your divorce to count, you'll have to take her back and then divorce her and then take her back and then divorce her this way. However, and certainly every time you do this, it has to be in a purity, in which there is no intercourse and so on. So he's complicating the divorce for people to basically keep them from like hasty divorces. I believe in that position, even though this is a very splinter minority position. Very small splinter minority position. That divorce does not count without raj'ah. That, divorce, back-to-back divorces do not count. This is a very splinter minority position. But in all honesty, it is a very strong position if you look at the intent of the legislator, if you look at the dictates and the text of Revelation, if you look at also principles of Sharia, common sense, that is what Allah intended. Allah intended 3 opportunities. This means each divorce has to happen in a marriage, like divorce, marriage, divorce, marriage, divorce, marriage. Not divorce, divorce, divorce. Not 3 composite divorces. So anyway, but certainly according to the 4 mazahib, if he divorces her here and then gives her another divorce, he deviated from the sunnah, but it counts. A third deviated, but it counts.
Should vihar, is that considered similar to that? Or is that just completely altogether?
That's a chapter that will come, it's coming. I'll finish and then we get, because everything is coming. It's all coming. And then the Sheikh said, فَمَتَى قَالَ لَهَا أَنْتِ طَالِقْ لِلسُّنَّةِ وَهِيَ فِي طُهْرٍ لَمْ يُصِبْهَا فِي طَلُقَتْ وَإِنْ كَانَتْ فِي طُهْرٍ أَصَابَهَا فِيهِ أَوْ حَيْضٍ لَمْ تَطْلُقْ حَتَّى تَطْهُرْ حَتَّى تَطْهُرَ مِنَ الْحَيْضِ. If he says to her, you are divorced according to the sunnah, while she is in a period of purity, during which he did not have intercourse with her, she becomes immediately divorced. If he had intercourse with her during that period, or if she is menstruating, then the divorce takes place only once her menstruation ends. That's obvious. He will say to her, you are divorced according to the sunnah. She is in her period. The divorce does not become effective now. When does it become effective? When her period ends and her purity starts. It becomes effective. وإن قال لها أنت طالق للبدعة وهي حائض أو في طهر أصابها فيه طلقت وإن لم يكن كذلك لم تطلق حتى يصيبها أو تحيض. Yes, he's an yes. Yeah. Like, well, if he's an idiot, she would be better off without him, right? But anyway, if he says to her, you are divorced according to the bid'ah, that's idiotic, but she is actually much better off. If someone is actually doing this, she would be better off without him. If he says to her, you are divorced according to the bid'ah way, and she is menstruating or in a state of purity during which he had intercourse with her, then she becomes immediately divorced. If she is not, then she does not become divorced until he has sex with her or she menstruates. Because it has to be he is saying that I'm giving you a bid'ah divorce. She is now in a period in which he did not touch her. Divorce does not happen. Once she menstruates, now a bid'ah divorce can be effective. Well, if he's doing this, isn't she much, Yeah, no, a lot of things, but yes. If you actually study the chapters on divorce, you'll be surprised what people came up with. فأما غير المدخول بها والحامل التي تبين حملها والآيسة والتي لم تحض فلا سنة لطلاقها ولا بدعة فمتى قال لها أنت طالق للسنة أو للبدعة طالقت في الحال. As for the wife with whom marriage was not consummated, the pregnant wife whose pregnancy becomes obvious, the postmenopausal wife, and the premenarcheal wife, whenever he says to her, you are divorced according to the sunnah or the bid'ah way, she becomes immediately divorced. Because there is no sunnah or bid'ah for these people. you know, yes, someone who has not had haid yet, someone who is not having haid anymore, there is no sunnah or bid'ah for them. Divorce at any time is effective. Someone who is pregnant, you know, she doesn't, you know, it is disagreed, it's controversial, but anyway, if you think a pregnant woman does not have haid, which, you know, that is controversial position, but then for a pregnant woman in general, regardless of the haid for the pregnant woman, but for the pregnant woman in general, what is the iddah of the pregnant woman? To give birth. If you divorce her during pregnancy, whether at any time, you're not prolonging her iddah. So it is, you know, that point is not really applicable to pregnant women. It is applicable only to women who are in the age of menstruation, you know, like menarcheal women who menstruate, and after consummation. Why after consummation? Because if marriage has not been consummated, there is no iddah to begin with. There is no waiting period. You divorce her, she can marry the next day. So there is no waiting period. Okay, and I'm just going to have to defer the Sarih al-Talaq wa Kinayatu, the chapter on explicit and implicit divorce, until next time, and I'll take your questions because I understand you have a lot of questions. Yes?